Day. We're grateful for all the people who engage in this community across the United States, and today is no different than any other day where that may be happening. So welcome, we're glad that you're here, and let me tell you just a few things that are going on. Well, Mally's going to tell you about announcements. I'm going to tell you affirmation, and today let you know that keep yourself on the lookout because we're changing things up a little bit. So the theme for the month is Embracing Imperfection. And one of the things you'll hear me say throughout the series about that is that embracing imperfection includes the spiritual practice of vulnerability, and vulnerability requires risk. So we're taking some risks, we're changing some things up, we're doing some things differently. Pay attention. You'll obviously figure out what those are when we get to them. Sound good? We like to practice what we preach around here, so we'll be on your toes today. The affirmation for the month is this: today, I release the need to be perfect in any way. I know that I am worthy of love and acceptance just as I am. I embrace the beauty of my divine imperfections, knowing that each one tells a story of strength, character, and courage. Let's take a deep breath and say that together with one voice. Today, I release the need to be perfect in any way. I know that I am worthy of love and acceptance just as I am. I embrace the beauty of my divine imperfections, knowing that each one tells a story of strength, character, and courage. And so it is, and so we are. Let's welcome Mally for our announcements today.
Hello, all you heat waves. I got my power bill. I'm glad I'm in this service. My name's Mally Lapete. My pronouns are she and her, and I serve on the creative arts team here at SLCA. We have so many great opportunities to connect, grow, serve, and give at SLCA. For more information about today's announcements and other opportunities, scan the QR code found on your monitor. Visioning is title to the sustainability of SLCA. Today at 5 p.m., Reverend Jean will lead our community in a vision for SLCA. This will take place every second Sunday, so plan on it. We'd love to have you join us. It's going to be in room 122 on your way to the Fellowship Hall. Come celebrate with us on July 20th. That's Saturday for the ultimate summer party. CJ the DJ will be playing all the hits to dance the night away, as well as taking requests for karaoke. I have a couple numbers lined up. You do the same, please. We'll have a great time. This event is free. We ask you to bring your own beverages and snacks that you'd like to enjoy. The party will take place in the social hall. We request that you register under the events section of our SLCA website. This is also CJ's birthday, so we'll look forward to seeing you there. There's a bunch of birthdays in July. What was going on? Are you curious about certain spiritual practices or content but have few opportunities to discuss it with like-minded people? Next Sunday, July 21st, during our 5 o'clock hour, we will continue a monthly discussion group exploring topics that may be hard to discuss with your friends and family. SLCA practitioner Tony Jenkins is ready to answer any questions. Join us and let's talk about it. That's what I like about this place. You can talk about it. As our community grows, we're looking for those willing to volunteer. Please consider donating one Sunday a month and serve on one of our many SLCA teams. We are specifically looking for those to join our hospitality team. Please talk to Shannon after the service to find the perfect way that you can serve. Well, thank you for joining us today. We look forward to visiting with you after the service in the social hall for food and fellowship. You belong.
Thank you, Mally. Open your mind unfold your heart. Relax your senses. Feel every part. You ain't got a thing to fear. Looks like love is growing here. So take your guard and let it down. Go deeper still until you come unwound. Unbound. Breathe every breath. Release your cringe. Love without waiting. Slowly unhinge. You ain't got a thing to fear. Looks like love is growing here. So take your guard and let it down. Go deeper still until you come unwound. Unbound.
I stand in this now moment, knowing that God is all there is. And I am a channel in which God speaks through. And this is what comes through me. Because this is what I know. From my being, I speak these words in first person. Please take them as your very own. Because I not only speak for me, but I speak for everyone in this sanctuary and that is watching us today. God is all there is. One power, one source, one God, one spirit. And I am a part of this God, this thing that moves around the universe and lifts everyone up to a higher consciousness. I am one with it. It lives and moves and has its being in me, and I let that come through me out into the universe. You see, I am God in human form. And I speak these words for everyone. Accept that knowing that truth of your being as I have. God speaks through me. God lives through me. God is me in human form. God, I thank you. I'm so grateful for all that I have, all that is coming, all that I am. God, I bless this day, this service, Reverend David Alexander, and all the people that have made this service possible. I bless them because this is a holy place. Spiritual Living Center is it, the thing itself, God in humanness, spreading all of its knowingness out into the universe. I have learned in this place, and it has taught me that through my daily practice, it lifts me up, knowing that the thoughts that I think creates my world. I think the thoughts, I speak the words, and I vision the outcome, and I see it manifest in front of me. God, I give thanks. I give thanks. Collectively, I know that our world, our community, our democracy, all the things that are happening in the world, God is in control. God has gone before us and made everything straight. All we need to do is just be and allow it to be. Step in and do our part. God, I give thanks, Father. This is the truth. This is the truth of my being. I release these words into universal law, knowing it is done now and forevermore. And if you agree with me, please say, and so it is.
You can stop waiting for love to find you. Look inside your heart. Love's already who you are. So lift up your voice. Let it be heard. Tell me your story, tell it to me. Don't leave out a word. 'Cause I think I have been there too. I'm a seeker just like you. You ain't got a thing to fear. Looks like love is growing here. So take your guard and let it down. Go deeper still until you come unwound. Unbound, yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Reverend Al.
That felt good, yeah? Very good, very good. All right, this is one of the moments where we are changing up the order of service. So hold on, you haven't heard the message yet, but we decided to change the order of some things and do the collection of our offering up front. And that's for a couple of reasons. I'm going to be speaking both today and throughout the month about the power of intention. And we wanted to take this moment and just draw a little bit more intention and attention to it. So this is how this is going to work. Remember, we used to have a couple of things we used to do. We used to have pledge cards. If you were an automatic pledger, you could pick one up on your way in and drop that in the basket in order to participate in that ritual of giving and receiving. And so we have that again. If you did not get one on the way in today, we do have them available, and our welcome team will make them available. Just raise your hand and say you want one of those. The other thing that we used to do, and actually this is before I came here, which is individuals would come forward and give a little testimony about why they gave and what it meant to them and that sort of thing. And so we're bringing that back as well. So both of those things are going to be happening in this service. We're going to invite you to get a pledge card if you're in that population. And we're going to invite people in the community to come up and share during this portion to why they give. And the reason we're doing that is for a couple of reasons. The main thing is, again, about intention. What we put our intention and attention on grows in consciousness. And this moment is not just about giving, it's also about receiving, right? It's a reciprocal nature of the universe. The law of the universe is to give and receive. Our body takes in and releases. It gives and receives. That's the cycle of life. And so we didn't want this moment to be just about what the ministry is getting from your giving, but also what you as individuals are receiving. And so the testimony part allows us to put that back in place so that you are hearing, as you're giving, you're also receiving the testimony and the demonstration of the effect that your gift is having. Does that sound right? Sound good? So that's why we're doing that. And so today, as you prepare your hearts, your minds, and your gifts to give today, please also prepare your mind to receive today a testimony from our very own Reverend Jean Bell.
Good afternoon, everyone. I love this community, first and foremost. It has given me so much over the years. When I first started here in 2013, I was already a practitioner, and I had left my former spiritual community. I didn't feel like I was being spiritually fed anymore. And when I joined SLCA, or should I say when I first came to visit SLCA, I was skeptical. It was big, much bigger than where I came from. So many people. Different minister, different style, different things that I had to get used to. I almost felt claustrophobic. But when I heard the message, it spoke to my heart, and it lifted me up. And as I was driving home, I was fighting with my inner self because I was still trying to be skeptical. But in actuality, Reverend David Alt had run me over. And one of the practitioners had won me over. And the music had won me over. And I remember yelling in the car saying, "All right, I'll join." You're in the process of almost losing your practitioner license. Now you got to go ask Reverend David Alt, will he sign off on it? So he asked me to do something. He asked me to go on a practitioner retreat. And I did. And he wanted to see how I got along with everybody. He wanted to see what I was about. He wanted to evaluate me more or less. And after that, and I said, "Well, what you think? You gonna sign me up?" And he did. And I learned so much from that moment, that retreat, from the people. And I have friends this day that I know will last a lifetime. And I met them at the Spiritual Living Center of Atlanta. And things change, things evolve, but I am committed because of why. And I pledge because of the message. This community gives a message of belonging, a message of spiritual truth, a message of spiritual upliftment. It gives love through the education, the Reverend Dr. David Alexander's message on social justice, on religious science principles. And some of you are the best huggers in town. So I pledge to this community so that message continues to grow and reach not just the individuals in this sanctuary, but to all of you who are viewing and that give, who may never step foot, who may never visit Atlanta. I want to thank you for also pledging and for giving, so that everyone that enters into these thresholds can feel like they truly belong. Because there's so many places in this world that some people don't feel that way. As a member of the LGBTQIA+ community, I know what that feels like. Some of you have children that are a part of that community. Some of you know what it feels like to be marginalized, but not here. Here, you will always feel like you belong. And if you don't, I will embrace you. I will hold you up. I will pray for you. I will be your friend. I will be there for you. And that's why I give to SLCA. So I want you to join me now in our grateful giving as we participate in the law of circulation. And I want you to say this with me. I live in a universe of abundance, and as I freely and joyfully give, I join in the divine flow, and all that I share with life returns to me multiplied abundantly, and so it is. Thank you.
Okay, y'all, let's get some energy moving up in here. I used to think that the world was too big and scary a place. How could I ever make a difference or even face the desires within my heart? I ran away from the sun, from the magical ones. Now I'm done living small, gonna strut my stuff and have a ball. I won't block the blessings, won't stop the flow. Gonna keep the channel open until it's my time to go. Don't know why, but I must create or die. I've been dead before, and now I want more. I won't block the flow. Oh, no, no, no. Won't block it, I won't block it. 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 You are an integral part, you're the heart of the universe. Because you are the voice of the one. The world is waiting to hear the song of your soul. Don't have to know how, just let go and allow. There's no one else that can do all the things that you do. So don't block the blessings, don't stop the flow. Just keep the channel open until it's your time to go. Don't know why, but I must create or die. I've been dead before, and now I want more. I won't block the flow. Oh no, 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 I won't block it, I won't block it, 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 no, 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 I won't block the flow, gotta let it go, want the world to know, no, don't block it, don't block it, don't block it, please don't block it, don't block the flow, just let it go. Don't block the flow, just let it go. Don't block it, please don't block it. Don't block it, please don't block it. Don't block the flow, just let it go. Hey. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Let's give some more love to Robert Lopez. Don't block the flow. I mean, that's got to follow up the offering every week, doesn't it? Something like that, right? All right, good afternoon. It's a good day to be together, yes? It's an important day to be together, yes? I said last week that I don't know what's going to happen from here, but what I was clear about was that we're going to need each other. I'm glad to see you today. We need each other. So as we move forward, this is week 2 of our Embracing Imperfection. And what perfect timing again to explore this topic. Everything in existence includes what you and I perceive, and it's a perception, of course, as flaws, right? Everything includes what we perceive to be flaws. And yet, we often are looking through the eyes of our expectation, and that expectation is for perfection, right? It's for standards. It's for, I want it to be this way. Despite the fact that everything that is as it exists right now includes flaws, includes imperfections, includes things not meeting those standards. But then we move in this human dimension through that standards-seeking mentality that allows us to judge and grade and qualify and quantify and measure up pretty much everything, right? I mean, you understand what I'm saying? I mean, the grocery store, right? It's grade A or it's grade something else, right? And of course you want the grade A stuff, right? And you want the prime and not the choice, and you don't want the, right? You understand? So now today we're going to talk about there's nothing wrong with having standards. There's nothing wrong with having standards, right? But it is our dance with our expectations in terms of the embracing of perfection and imperfection that we need to kind of dive into a little bit more, and I hope to do that today. From the perspective of oneness, we understand that all is divine, but oneness does not imply sameness or uniformity. It encompasses the divine expressions of existence that include those imperfections. We recognize that each individual is a unique piece that contributes to the wholeness of the tapestry of the divine. And in understanding our wholeness, we seek to understand that oneness is what is made up of all of the pieces. What we perceive as our imperfections are not shortcomings, but essential aspects of our being. I want to say that again. What we perceive, that's our affirmation. That's from a previous week. It's really good wisdom. Take it in. What we perceive as our imperfections are not shortcomings, but essential aspects of our being. I want you to just take that in and kind of just personalize it for a minute. What I perceive as my own flaws and imperfections are not shortcomings. And they're not even just, like, oh, some flawed part of myself that I need to accept. No, they're essential aspects of your being. And if you can breathe into that space, kind of take that in for just a moment, then could you also breathe and take that in for the collective? That what I perceive as flaws out there, and out there can be anywhere. It could be in your community, it could be in your HOA, it could be in your country, whatever it is, whatever out there you want, in your family, in your city, in the freeway, whatever. Fill in your own blank there. That those things that I perceive as imperfections in that context, in that space, are not shortcomings. They are essential aspects of the beingness of that thing. How does that begin to shift and move our awareness of that thing? How does it open up doors to compassion and deeper understanding? Hopefully what it does is allows us to understand that this rich mosaic of life is bringing forth greater appreciation of the depth and breadth of our human experience. That this concept of connectivity reminds us that we are not separate from the universe, but we are intimately connected in it. We are not isolated beings, but expressions in and of the divine, intrinsically woven into the fabric of existence. You are not outside of that divine pattern. You are that divine pattern. Even in your imperfection, whatever that is, right? That perception of that imperfection is part of that divine pattern. Embracing our imperfections then allows us to honor all of that interconnectedness, all of that interweaving, and recognize that our flaws are part of some greater symphony of wholeness. And all of this woven together, what it really means is that there is simply always something that's trying to get our attention. Have you noticed? Right? I mean, that's the bottom line, right? If that what you perceive as imperfections are not shortcomings, but essential aspects of your being, then why are you so annoyed by them? I mean, can we just break it down for a minute, right? Then why do they bother us so much? Why do they come up? Why are we always trying to cover them up and smooth them away and make them disappear? Because they're trying to get our attention. There's always, in the collective, individually and collectively, there's always something that is trying to get our attention. And at the heart of that journey, that unfolding, that experience in the human dimension of paying attention, not paying attention, tuning in, not tuning in, is really ultimately at the individual level is really about understanding our self-worth. Understanding your self-worth, knowing that your worthiness is inherent simply by the act of you being, breathing, existing. But there's a part of you that doesn't know that yet, or thinks that it doesn't know that yet. And so you have a curriculum, and that curriculum is figuring that out. Is that making sense? That's basically life. That's it, right? I'm through my life, and I am figuring out that I have an inherent self-worth, and all of the teachers that are there along the way, and a big portion of those teachers, we tend to think that the teachers are other people, mentors and teachers and people that we're in relationship with and people we work with and people in the public that we have a positive or negative relationship with. Yeah, that's true, but, set all that aside for just a moment. Your really big teachers are your imperfections, right? Those are the big ones. And we know they're the big ones because they're the ones that we try to ignore the most, right? Your biggest teacher is the one you don't want to admit. Your biggest teacher is the one you've got locked up in the closet. Ain't nobody gonna find out that bothers me. Oh, breathe, it's okay. And so, I'm not ready for that yet. See, imperfections already. And so we can see that all of this, we can see how in the dance of that, how polarized and divided we are. Because we don't want to admit to our shortcomings, we don't want to admit to our teachers that are the things that make us uncomfortable. We want to find blame and places to put that, right? We want to find closets to put it in, we want to find blame for it or reasons or whatever. Or even better, how about this? Surround ourselves with other people who have the same problem and then have an affinity with that group of people, because what binds us together is the fact that we all don't like that. Not here, of course, I know, not today, right? But we do that as human beings. It's okay, you can admit it, right? It's just part of the human nature of our consciousness seeking to comfort itself. Do you know that you really like to be comfortable? Right? I mean, who doesn't? I was adjusting my seat in the car this morning. I was like, who was driving this thing? I'll put my seat back, right? We love being comfortable. There's nothing wrong with that. But often our desire for comfort moves directly against our need for growth and change and transformation. And so that's where the rub comes in. So we have to have a practice, a spiritual practice, that allows us to check in. Say, where are we numbing ourselves to sleep? Where are we not paying attention? Where are we staying too comfortable in a pattern of ignoring or dismissing or blaming or finding fault with, or whatever the patterns are? And how can I open myself up to embrace those imperfections and do it a little bit differently? There's a lot that's being requested of humanity right now. Have you noticed? Like, it's really up. Like, there's like the universe is saying, pay attention. Pay attention. But we're so locked into polarized positions of anger and blame. Because anger and blame are really, now I'm ready for that one. Here's what anger and blame are. Anger and blame are really just ways of lashing out at our unmet expectations of perfection. I'm just going to put that right there, right? Think about when you're angry, when you're blaming somebody. Think about when you see anger and blame being played out in the public sphere, in any space. You know, it happens in sports. It happens in politics. It happens in everything, right? Anger and blame are simply ways that we lash out at our unmet need and expectation. When I get angry or upset with my son or my partner or whatever, what's really going on is that I had an expectation that their behavior would be different than it was. And they didn't meet my expectation. And that ticks me off. Anybody? Yeah, that's it, right? So what do you do with that? Now let's be clear, right? Being spiritual, being enlightened, being of a spiritually minded consciousness is not an anything goes, feast of doormat philosophy in the world. The answer to that is not to just say, well, I'm just supposed to then just let my standards go and embrace everything just as it is. Oh, I really want to say something right now. I'm not going to say it. BS, right? Like, really? No. You get to have standards. You get to have expectations. You get to have qualities of being that you expect for yourself, for your relationship, for the world, etc. What you also get to do is embrace the fact that sometimes they go unmet. That's where the spiritual practice is. It's not that having the expectation is wrong. It's the constant demand that they always get met. Have the expectation and then embrace the moment when it doesn't get met. And instead of blaming the other person, allow yourself to go within and say, what is that really about? Why does that bother me so much? What if this is a fun one, especially good for parents. What if they never meet my expectation? Think of somebody that really bothers you, right? Maybe they're on the news. Maybe they're in your family. Be really still if they're sitting next to you. What if they never meet my expectation? Then what am I going to do? Okay. Amen. Sign her up for the testimony next week. Right? So it becomes the practice of embracing and understanding and going deeper, having a deep dive to examine when those standards aren't met. What else might be happening? What else might be trying to get my attention? What else might be coming to the surface? Maybe there's an adjustment. Maybe there's some self-forgiveness. Maybe I need to remember that they're human just like I'm human. Maybe, who knows? It could be a whole world of things unfolding in that moment. But it's an opportunity to examine and do the deeper spiritual work rather than just stay staunch in I have a right to have this expectation and dang it, it needs to be met. As my teachers growing up in this philosophy used to tell me, how's that working for you? Right? Demonstration's the only authority. So Ernest Holmes says this, he says, our teaching is that we each actually have a body, that we each actually have a subjective life, that we each actually have a spirit. Change the pronouns here to be inclusive, that's why it's written that way. So we each have a body, we each have a subjective life or subjective consciousness, we each have a spirit, a body, a soul, and a spirit, representing a point where individuality accentuated in universality. We are forced to the conclusion that there is but one mind. Each individual, however, is a unique variation in that universe. No two people are alike, and yet all people are rooted in that which is identical. The individual or individuals or thing or whatever that bothers you, you are rooted in universality with them. And yet they are a unique expression that is different from you. We tend to focus on one over the other, don't we? We tend to not think about the way in which we're rooted in our oneness with them. So what do we do with all of this? What do we do when we are locked down in blame and shame and anger and projection? It's always a call to break out of our self-imposed expectations of perfection. And the only way to do that is to embrace a deeper vulnerability, to open ourselves up. This is the great work of Brené Brown and the gifts of imperfection, right? She talks about vulnerability. Vulnerability, the doorway is always vulnerability. If there's no intellectual way of saying that, trying to figure out how we're more right about a situation. No, it's to open up and be more vulnerable. Take risks and expose ourselves to the possibility that maybe people won't like us, that maybe we'll get it wrong, that maybe it won't work the way we think it'll work, or whatever, right? But vulnerability is the doorway to that change and transformation. And that's risky when we feel like there's so much on the line. I don't know about you, but when I'm feeling in that risky space, when I'm feeling like there's kind of trouble on the border in that way, I want to not only withdraw and kind of shelter in and be in my cocoon of protection and be with people who I know agree with me and, make sure I'm not in the sphere of anybody who's going to poke me in any kind of way, right? That's number one, which is really hard to do as a minister, right? Because you just never know. But then number two, the other thing that I want to do is then make sure, and this is just me, I don't know if this is you or not, but this is me for sure, right? The other thing that I want to do when I'm in that space is to then act in ways and to emote and demonstrate in ways that are the most pleasing to the most amount of people possible, right? In other words, not rock the boat, not be controversial in any way. Let me just make sure that everything out of my mouth is just like, let me give no reason for anybody to come and poke me, because I'm feeling sensitive right now. Anybody? Please let there be somebody else. Okay, great. Thank you. Let's have coffee. Right? Like that's a pretty typical human pattern, right? That we want to play it safe. And what's really happening there is moving back into those standards of perfection. This is a little bit of a bridge to get there, so stick with me here. But if we examine what's really happening there, what we're actually doing is retracting into some kind of self-imposed standard of perfection. In other words, if I can, from this place, do everything and do it right, you see? If I can do everything and make sure I do make no mistakes, I do it all just perfect, then there'll be no risk because everybody will like me. You see? Oh, who are my codependent people? Come on. Right? Others of you are like, I don't care. I just move through the world the way I move. Yeah. That's my alter ego. I kind of swing from one to the other. So I require medication. But anyway. But here's the thing. Playing it safe and trying to make everything perfect doesn't save us at all. It doesn't do anything to accelerate our growth and transformation. In fact, it works against us. And the moment of vulnerability and the moment of risk and the moment of exposing ourselves and opening up and being out there on the line, just get that potential for that moment and the build up to that moment just gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger until it becomes the elephant in the room. And then it's like, oh, well, now you can't avoid it because it's everywhere. Anybody know what I'm talking about? Howard Zinn said this. He said, so I say all of that to say, like, that's where we're at right now in humanity. Can you feel that? Like there's this, nobody wants to take a risk. Nobody wants to do anything that, careful, we got to be. And yet there is this push of you are at the breaking point. In order to go forward from here, it's going to require risk. And nobody wants to admit it. Am I on point? To be hopeful, Howard Zinn says, in bad times, is not just foolishly romantic. It is based on the fact that human history is a history not only of cruelty, but also of compassion, sacrifice, courage, and kindness. What we choose to emphasize in this complex history will determine our lives. If we see only the worst, it destroys our capacity to do something. If we remember those times and places, and there are so many, where people have behaved magnificently, then it gives us the energy to act and to at least the possibility of sending the spinning top of a world in a different direction. And if we do act in however small a way, we don't have to wait for some grand utopian future. The future is an infinite succession of present moments. And to live now as we think human beings should live, in defiance of all that is bad around us, is itself a marvelous victory. Yeah. In other words, risk, do it anyway. Choose to step out in the midst of negativity. Choose to have a positive mindset in the midst of fear and anxiety. Choose to have faith and believe in yourself in the midst of doubt and confusion. Choose to have faith and believe in a vision of something bigger. We need to step into our faith in moments like this. Ernest Holmes says, to abandon the truth in our time of need is to prove that we never knew the truth to begin with. We have a time of need that's happening right now. One of the things I speak about in my book, Freedom from Discord, is the idea of this risk, that even writing the book was risky, that there are things that, to be a liberation theology, I describe in the book as one of the requirements is to have activity or to have a consciousness that is political in nature, but religious in commitment. And that's a hard thing sometimes for our spaces in our kind of communities to understand, because we're so used to sort of political neutrality as being the norm. That it's not a muscle that we exercise to be political in nature. What do you mean? Because we've made politics a bad word, right? We're scared of it. We don't want to engage with it. Or at the very least, if we are active and engaging in it, we say, that's my business and I do it on my time. But here, we're supposed to be safe and neutral and everybody's okay and all of that stuff. But when Ernest Holmes spoke to the church and spoke to his own organization and said it was wrong when they moved the listing of the East Los Angeles church down to the bottom and put an asterisk next to it and called it a colored church, right? And he scolded the organization and said, we're not doing that. And he went and spoke to the church. That was an act that was political in nature, but religious in commitment. Right? The commitment is the principle. The commitment is, I believe in oneness. The commitment is, I believe in justice. The commitment's driving. And so what that passage in the book and everything about that means is when we are political in nature but religious in commitment, we're driven. In the driver's seat is our religious commitment, or our spiritual commitment, if you prefer that word, or our values commitment. That the driving seat is the principles that we're committed to. I'm committed to oneness. I'm committed to justice. I'm committed to peace. I'm committed to love. I'm committed to inclusion, whatever it is. And if that drives me to an area or space that seems to look divided and polarized, and there's people on this side and people on that side and all that, well, then so be it. But I'm driving to that space. I'm not going to say, well, that space over there looks divided and polarized, so I'm going to avoid that because I don't want to be there with those. That makes me uncomfortable. But we don't have the muscle of that practiced very often collectively in our spiritual communities. And so whenever we're in a space where we don't have the muscle for something, it gets hard, and we don't like things that are hard. We like things that are easy and comfortable. Remember, I said we really like to be comfortable? And so I just want to kind of put on the table as an acknowledgement of vulnerability in this moment that we, not just we SLCA, but collectively, New Thought, Centers for Spiritual Living, the Unity Movement, progressive spiritual communities are in a difficult spot right now. Because it's uncomfortable sometimes to talk about these things when we don't have the history or the muscle of talking about them in these spaces. And yet there's such a demand, there's such an elephant in the room of saying, please give me some spiritual insight about this thing. I'm dying over here, right? And so the bubble's got to burst somewhere. So I decided to burst the bubble. Got hundreds of people across the country taking this. I got people emailing me all the time. Oh my God, thank you. Finally, there's something to sink our teeth into and to speak about from this context. I've talked to leaders in our movement, and the organization collectively is in a perilous place, as we are experiencing even on the local level in many of our centers. Every month, people call the magazine and unsubscribe to Science of Mind magazine because they think it's gotten too political. And yet, it never mentions Democrat or Republican. It only talks about spiritual principles in the context of the world that we're living in. And so what do they choose to do? They've chosen to keep publishing in a particular direction with a particular focus that is in alignment with the things I'm talking about here, but it's a risk. And they're losing money. And I understand that risk. But somewhere you got to do something. So we're doing something here. Spirit moved me last week after the Supreme Court stuff happened. There was a lot of chatter in our spiritual communities collectively of people who were going to pull together, prayer vigils and just space to do spiritual practice because of all the anxiety and that anxiety, not just about those particular decisions, but how that was feeding into general anxiety about the election and all of that kind of stuff. And so there was a lot of conversation about that, including here. And I had some members talk to me, well, what can we do and what are we going to do and all of those sorts of things. And so I sat with it and kind of mulled over a couple different ideas about Zoom and getting people together physically and online and all of that stuff. And what we came forward with, what Spirit brought forward, was to launch a program, and we're calling it our election intention, my election intention. It's 100 days of a mindful spiritual practice. It's going to begin on July 28th, which is 100 days until the election, 100 days between July 28th and November 4th, and then the next day is Election Day. But for those 100 days, if you sign up for this, you will get a audio message delivered to your phone that it's not a conference call that you have to be on at a particular time, because we have people all over different time zones, and I didn't think that was really going to work. So it'll come to your voicemail, you click on it, and you listen to it when you want to listen to it. It's going to be 2 to 3 minutes max, because we're paying for this service, so it'll be 3 minutes, trust me. Even Michael Beckwith, I've got him on, to tell, listen, Michael, I need 90 seconds. 90 seconds is what I need. and I'm going to get it. He's already said yes. All the people that you see on the screen, 26 different leaders across our movement, practitioners, ministers, mindfulness and yoga teachers have said yes. More and more and more coming to my inbox to say yes. And so over the 100 days, if you sign up for this, you'll hear different voices throughout those 100 days. Some people will be 2 or 3 times, but a wide variety of voices are coming in. So you'll get the message every single day that you can incorporate into your spiritual practice. 120 seconds, listen to it, do the rest of your prayer meditation, whatever you want to do, go on about your day. Then weekly, at least weekly, we'll have a Zoom meeting where people who want to check in at a particular time and hear from other people, and we have a video that's on our website right now. It's mile high, put together, of Ernest Holmes' My Prayer for My Country, and they recorded people doing it. It's a really beautiful done video. So we'll watch that. We'll have some spiritual practice, give space for people to talk that want to talk. And so if you need that or want that deeper connection, that'll be available. Intention, community building in that regard. The 100 days is going to follow a pattern. The pattern is based on the work of Prentice Hemphill, their work, What It Takes to Heal, How Transforming Ourselves Can Change the World. In there, Prentice has a beautiful outline of all of the steps and principles that it takes. And there happen to be 10 of them. So it's vision, and then healing and feeling, rewiring, releasing, engaging. I don't have them all in order in my head right now, but I'm taking those 10. And so we'll go through 10 and then repeat that cycle 10 times. And so each of those days will be one of those 10 principles. There'll be an affirmation that we'll post online, and then whoever's doing the audio recording will focus on that principle and give you, 60, 90, 180 seconds of focused, like, let's talk about healing or releasing or feeling or vision or whatever the 10 principle is. And then it'll repeat that cycle. So those are somatic healing principles, and the audio message will incorporate that. So that is beginning on July 28th. All you have to do, you can literally do it right now. You take out your phone, you text to the number 470-784-0250. Just text the word join, and it will put you in the system to receive those. You'll probably receive 1 or 2 messages from us beforehand, just letting people know and inviting them to share the word, because we've got a few days, 15 or 14 days left before July 28th starts, so we want to build up that database. Here's the thing. We as a ministry are spending more money each month than we're taking in. To do something like this, we had to go out and get an additional service. I said, you know what, let's just do the free version. And then as I was doing it, I was like, this is going to work. So let's do like the 100 contacts. Maybe I can get 100 people to sign up for this. Folks, I put the advertising for it together over the weekend. This is the first service that's been shared in. I sent it out to ministers to put into their service, but that was yesterday, so I don't know how many of them put together their slideshows at the last minute like we do. So I don't know if it got in front of actual church communities today or if it was just being shared online. So there's still a lot more to go in terms of advertising and sharing it. Many of you have just now seen this for the first time. We have 160 people signed up right now. 160. 163. I'm literally watching my phone now. Here's the thing. I only signed up for the 100 contact package. We've already busted it over, right? I don't know if it's going to be 500 people or 200 people, if it's going to be 1,000 people. I don't know. I'm saying that to say, I'm being vulnerable with you to say, I believe that this ministry has a role to play in creating space, not just for the members of SLCA, but for the world or for the collective consciousness of this country, to talk about the intersection of spiritual practice and justice in a way that is bold, a way that is in leading. You notice that CSL, AG&T, the spiritual leader of so-and-so or what is not leading this charge. We are. I believe that's by divine appointment. I believe that we have a place in the collective consciousness to do that it's ours to do. I need you to support it. I need you to, and I'll send out, trust me, I'll send out a message to these 100 and whatever it ends up being folks to send in $5 or $10 as well when the time comes. But we have a role to play. Sometimes I don't know if I'm out on the skinny branches. When I wrote this book, I said, this is going to do one of two things. It's either going to alienate everybody against me, or it's going to bring people to me, and maybe a little bit of both. The verdict's still out on that. And so why am I telling you that? I'm telling you that to be vulnerable. I'm telling you that to say, I believe that that's by divine right appointment. I'm telling you that to say, as something that I say in the book, that playing it safe won't save us. We don't need spiritual communities that are doing this as a spiritual practice with the chaos that's happening in our country. That we're not going to speak about it, we're not going to look at it, we're not going to hear it, and we're just going to pretend that it doesn't exist. Here's what I'm saying. That's not working. We need something else, and that something else is the radical application of our teaching to the context that we are living in. There's a story in Ezekiel. Oh boy, there he goes. Don't get Pentecostal on you. There's a story in Ezekiel. Ezekiel's a prophet, and God tells him to go to this valley. Some of you know it, the valley of dry bones. And he says, I want you to go there and I want you to deliver this message. And I want you to imagine Ezekiel's face when he got there and all that he saw was a dry desert of bones. He said, there's not a single soul alive here. It is nothing but dirt and dust, and it's hot, and I'm thirsty, and it ain't nothing but bones everywhere I look. And God says, that's it, that's the place, that's where I want you to go. I said, you want me to speak the word here? God said, yes. Now, I'm going to blend some Pentecost with some New Thought on you. Is that all right? Now, New Thought metaphysics will teach you that a clear intention and an elevated emotion produces a result. A clear intent, I'll say it again, a clear intention. You're not doubt, you're not in confusion, you're not wishy-washy, you're not hemming and hawing about it, you're not on your back foot. A clear intention. Somebody say a clear intention. A clear intention with elevated emotion, which means you have passion, you have drive, you have what Ernest Holmes called the fire in the belly. You believe in what you're saying. A clear intention plus elevated emotion produces a result. The body responds to a clear intention and elevated emotion. I'm telling you that Ezekiel stood in the valley of that dry bones, said, there's not a single soul here. But God put me here, and I'm going to say what God told me to say. And suddenly, there was a little rumbling. Oh, you know that little rumbling, the valley of dry bones? That must have been the wind. That was just... There must have been nothing but the wind blowing, giving me an illusion, I thought I heard something, but when I looked, it was just nothing but dry bones. And so he said what he had to say again. And lo and behold, those bones began to quiver and shake and come together. And the story says that muscle and sinew and tendons grew on those bones, and they formed together into bodies and skin and eyeballs and hair and everything else. And an army grew up out of those bones, and it was the lost tribe of Israel wandering through the desert because he was sent there on purpose. I've had moments, I don't know about you in your life. I don't know about you, but I've had moments where I've thought, well, maybe this is just a valley of dry bones. Hey, everybody's left. Everybody doing something else now. COVID happened, and I got something better to do on Sunday morning, or Sunday afternoon. She knows what time it is. I don't know about you, but I've been to the Valley of Dry Bones. And I've thought, well, I don't know anything else to do except what God told me to do. So I'm going to show up, and I don't know if there are going to be 5 people in the room, if there are going to be 50 people in the room. I don't even know how many people there are today. It doesn't matter. There's a camera on, and we'll let it record it and broadcast it out, and whoever gets to see it gets to see it. And we're going to do this thing, and I don't know how many people are going to sign up, but maybe somebody will sign up. And I got people emailing me. I don't even know their names, and they're saying, can I be one of the voices? 169, 170 people signed up in this service. But suddenly those dry bones began to come together. All right, I'm going to sit down now because I'm going to get real Pentecostal on you. I want to tell you that when a clear intention matches an elevated emotion and you are grounded in spirit, and I'll add to it that aspect of vulnerability that Brene Brown talks about. When you add that vulnerability, say, this doesn't make any sense, but I'm going to do it anyway because I've got a clear intention and elevated emotion. And I know that the law produces a result, that I speak my word and the law goes and receives that word and comes back to me pressed down, turned over 100-fold what I've spoken into it. That's the law that we teach. That's the law that we teach. And so why don't we get together for these 100 days and say something about what we want? Not about party, not about names, not about sides, but say what we want in terms of vision, healing, about the somatic principles, and be clear about it with an elevated emotion and a spiritual practice where we just say, today we're anchoring this, tomorrow we're going to anchor that, and the next day we're going to anchor that, and then we're going to do it again for the next 10 days, and then again for the next 10 days. And what kind of result would that produce for nothing less but the very least our own anxiety as we walk through whatever it is that we got to walk through, that I've got a place to anchor that anxiety and hold on to something and connect with people on Zoom if I need to, and know that there are others who are holding space for the same thing. How about that? Come on now. Lord, I know we already took an offering. I'm about half tempted to take another one. We invite the practitioners to come forward now. We're going to be adding something else to the service. We're not ready for it yet today. So my request for you on this project is sign up if you want to sign up. Find the images, the graphics of this on our website and social media and share it. Invite other people. This is for everybody, not just SLCA, not just for New Thought folks, not just for Democrats, not just for Republicans or independents, but for everybody. We're creating a mindful intention for 100 days leading up to the election, knowing that our consciousness produces results when we have a clear intention, elevated emotion. That's the law of consciousness at work. The other thing we're adding to our service that will come in a couple of weeks, we got to print new cards and get them ready for you, is that when you walk in addition to picking up your pledge card, we're going to invite you to pick up a prayer card. And if you have somebody that you want prayer for, you're going to be able to fill out that prayer card. You can do it. We have those now, but we're changing some of the language and options on it, in addition to our website where we have prayer available. And what we're adding to that is the opportunity for collective or what some might call corporal prayer. So that if you want their name spoken, that in this moment in the service, just as I've done, I'll invite the practitioners forward, I'll collect the cards that have been filled out that day, and if you have checked a box that says this can be shared, then I'll say, we're praying for John for prosperity, we're praying for Susie for this, we're praying for David for that, and I'll just go through the cards in the midst of this prayer. So that we're bringing that element in, that our collective consciousness is focused on those individuals in our community. If you want it anonymous, then you can make it anonymous, and the practitioners will do their work on it. So we're not doing that today because, as I said, we need to do design and order and print and all of those other things. But today I just invite you to take a breath with me and join the practitioners as we collectively hold a space for each one of us. And if you're watching online, you can add those names online. I can't see them right now, but I'll look at them later. And our practitioners who are watching online can see them. If you have a name or a situation that you want prayer for, you can drop it in there. his first name only, to keep it anonymous, and we'll simply hold space for that individual or that condition. And for our own selves, whatever we have on our hearts, for anxiety and peace of mind and health and prosperity and well-being and divine right guidance for the next step and clarity and passion and energy, financial flow, whatever it is, we can speak that into the law because we know that there is a divine intelligence, a divine mind, an infinite capacity of good that is ever seeking to demonstrate itself in, through, and as all life and as all creation, as all moments of inspiration. That includes you and me and this moment. And the desire of that one thing is to fulfill itself as beautifully and passionately and wonderfully as it possibly can through all creation. And so, we open up our minds, we open up our consciousness, we open up our receptivity to allow ourselves to be the vessel through which prosperity and health and well-being and joy and divine guidance and all of those things, spoken and unspoken in this moment, anything that's being mentioned online, is available in our consciousness. We become receptors to that divine idea. Spirit has already said yes. It always wants to say yes. We simply have to attune ourselves and make ourselves ready. So I declare that there are those who are making themselves ready right here and right now in this room and online. They're making themselves ready as people watch this prayer later during the week or in the evening hours or any other time. They're making themselves ready. The only moment that there is now. And so the law of consciousness is working and moving now in all of those spaces and all of those ways. And we lift up our collective consciousness for the health and well-being of our nation, for the state of democracy, that tempers may cool and hearts may open and understanding may flow down like water. And we know that we have a big enough space in our conscious collectiveness to have healthy disagreement and healthy diversity of ideas about who to vote for and how to run the country and what direction and all of those things, and that it doesn't have to lead to hating or dismissing or despising or hurting or harming anyone. That there's room for all, and that there is a space of democracy that allows itself to unfold in such a way that the highest and best always comes forward. Always comes forward. Because the highest and best is moving through us and guiding us in our decisions and in our consciousness. I give thanks to know that this is happening right now. I give thanks to know that there are places and spaces all over the country that are praying in this moment as well. Churches and mosques and temples and synagogues and living rooms and kitchen tables, countryside churches and mega churches and online ministries of all kinds. Praying in tongues and praying in different and wonderful, diverse ways that the universe hears as the voice of humanity, making itself available to know and be known by the one life that moves through all of us. For this and so much more, I'm truly grateful and thankful. For the life of this community, I'm truly grateful and thankful. For the call that we are answering by being community together, I am truly grateful and thankful. And I release this word and I allow it to be. And together we say, and so it is. So we are. Peace and blessings.
Rev D! Woo! We are on fire, what? We are here to serve our country.
We envision a world that works for everyone and for As expressions of God, we see a world that works for everyone.